I don't know about you, Hotshot, but I could really use a break. I mean, we've been kind of at this for the last 3 hours, so add that plus whatever sleep you did or didn't get. And that can be surprisingly a lot, especially after an investigation like this one. Well, what I mean is that the second you stand up, don't be surprised if you feel it physically. It was an absolutely wild investigation with irrefutable proof. I mean, you were there. And if I were to print out the notes you've taken from your half of the footage alone, I'm sure it would make an absolutely massive stack. And we've barely even started. So there's been a lot of adrenaline and a lot of intense focus over the last couple of hours as that's bled off. And I don't know if you slept beforehand. Oh, that's good. That'll help then. I'm gonna grab some coffee. Do you want some? No, we've got a break room. Well, break room makes it sound so much more formal and important than it is. It's kind of a galley kitchen of a room. Oh, sorry. No, we've got coffee here. We don't have a lot of fancy stuff to put in it. We've got milk and sugar and some sort of artificial sweetener. Kyle, oh, he's our IT guy. Kyle's diabetic and keeps a box in there he says we're all free to use. Yeah, let's both go. It would do us both some good to stretch our legs. Plus, I don't know how you like your coffee. Oh, gosh, no. My coffee needs to taste like candy and be probably 40% milk, if I'm being honest. My dad liked his black, though, and so does my mother's mom. Mom says that's because she grew up right after the Depression and milk and sugar were still seen as luxuries, but that just seems weird to me. There's adapting to the taste of something, and then there's torturing yourself. I never did know why my dad liked his black. He didn't have the Great Depression excuse. Brick room's right this way. He passed away 12 years ago. Next week, actually. It's okay. You didn't know, and it's been a long time. I still miss him. I don't think you ever stop missing someone you love. But I'm really okay. Or as okay as you can ever get with something like this, anyway. In here. Oh, I knew I was forgetting something when we got back. I meant to start the coffee for later. Though I guess after 3 hours I would have needed to make a fresh pot anyway. Give me just a second to get it going. Oh my god. I guess Isaac forgot to go to the store this week. We are completely out of coffee. Before we leave to get some, though, let me see if. Ha! We have sodas! Do you want one? I know it isn't coffee, but it's still caffeine. Oh, perfect. Which kind? There are a couple. Here. Adaptability, right? Let's take these back to my office. I mean, it's not like there's anywhere to sit in here anyway, so it's not like there's much of an option, but all the same. So, those notes you've been taking about the footage you're reviewing, I didn't expect you to be so thorough. That wasn't a dig. I'm sorry if it felt that way. I mean it. I'm really impressed. I know it's your job. Just look, I promised I would stop being hostile before we left. I know I fumbled a little here and there, but I'm trying. You were a complete textbook skeptic when you showed up here the day before yesterday. You were still a skeptic last night, even if it was one who was willing to humor me. And let's be completely real with each other, it was just to humor me. You thought you'd show up, go with me, and nothing would happen. You could maybe check the accounting books before you left, but all in all, you were positive you were going to leave here with a story about the biggest scam Sarley's allowed to perpetuate for a century. Instead, you ended up with actual proof of an actual haunting, something you didn't even think was possible, and it was very real. I said it earlier, but having the core of your world upended like that is a lot. It's a lot to process, especially in less than a handful of hours. So either you believed even the tiniest amount before you ever set foot in my office 2 days ago, or you are masking so hard your face might as well be granite. And I've got a pretty darn good idea of which one the right answer is. Coping with something like that, even if you're busy trying to convince yourself it's stupid. In fact, especially if you're trying to convince yourself that it's stupid, rather than giving yourself the grace to process it, can leave you rattled and uneasy at best. But maybe that mask of yours is closer to diamond than granite. That takes a lot of willpower. And a lot of denying your own needs and thought processes, if I'm being really honest. But it takes holding on to that mask with every fiber of your being. It's impressive. Mentally unhealthy and worrisome, but impressive. When I said I've seen people have their entire worldview turned on its head after an investigation, I meant it. I meant it when I said I knew what it felt like to have to come to terms with that. And I don't mean in some vague academic sense. One of those people was me. I was a complete skeptic before my first investigation, and that investigation was not dissimilar from the one we had tonight. Proof I couldn't deny or explain away, shoved right under my nose in ways I was forced to accept. And it took a long time for me to really get okay with it. It's really okay if you aren't tonight. Especially tonight. Or today, or whatever time it is at this point. It's okay. Of course we can. Yeah. What's up? Is this off the record or on it? Wait. I. I'm not trying to pick a fight. I just. I was 16 when I came on my first investigation. There was some stuff going on in my life at the time that. Let's just say my skepticism was taking a pointed hit. But I didn't want to let it go. It made more sense to me than not being skeptical, than believing in the paranormal, in things I couldn't see or touch or feel. I'd done what most devoted skeptics do. I wrote off everything I was personally experiencing. I found excuses for each and every moment of it. Considering I'm not much of a fan of beef or mustard, that particular excuse wasn't one I ever used, but yeah. That sort of absolute desperation to find any sort of answer other than what was staring me right in the face. I'm familiar with it. I never thought I'd say I identified with Ebenezer Scrooge, but here we are. Anyway, I came here hoping that I could reinforce my own worldview. I'd go on an investigation and see that all of the proof was just deluded people twisting facts to their own ends or intentionally disregarding evidence that either didn't fit their predetermined conclusion or would have called it into question. That wasn't what I got. What I got was a group of wonderful people who took an angry, hurting teenager on an investigation and let me decide for myself if what I experienced was real. I still don't know what would have happened to me that night if I'd gone on a debunked investigation. Maybe I'd still be here, even if only in support of how hard this society tries to debunk things. Or maybe I would have taken that as proof that I was right to disregard what I was going through. I don't know. And frankly, I don't want to know. I'm glad I ended up on an active haunting that night. Because even the uncertainty and discombobulation of having my world yanked out from under me was less painful and traumatic, and it was, both of those things, don't get me wrong, than what I was dealing with and really running from at the time. I'm not saying you're going through anything of that magnitude. I mean, you came here for a story. But what happened is still something that shook a foundational pillar of your belief system. And it is absolutely okay to need time with that. Even if you think you're fine 1 minute, even if you are fine in that minute, it's okay to not be fine in the next. Changes like this, sometimes your state of being is a minute by minute experience. And that's okay too. Yeah, so's that. I'll drink to it. Are you sure? Okay. Then, tell you what, let's shift gears a little. I know I can only take looking at the night vision for so long before my eyes start to ache. So I'll start going through some audio files. And you, since you were so quick to remind me that investigative reporting is, in fact, your actual job and it does involve a metric ton of background research, you can start digging into the history of the building. Don't worry if you don't get too far. We probably should both go home and get some sleep soon. But we can at least get started.